Hi, I'm Nathan Lippy. I'm the relationship doctor, and I'm studying how people build and nurture relationships that matter. And I'm really excited to have Stu Heinecke on today. And
Nice to be here with you.
um, he's a Wall Street Journal cartoonist, and he wrote honestly, one of my favorite books. It's called How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. So
it's one of my favorite too, by the way.
Yes. So he's a specialist in the breaking through phase of building relationships, and he calls his approach contact marketing. So Stu, really happy to talk with you. Let's see what we talk about.
I promised you I was going to do one of these.
Oh yeah,
but there anyway, it is. Really glad to be here with you. It's a pleasure, Nathan.
Same. Yeah. All right, so tell me, tell us a little bit about contact marketing. What is it? How did you get started with it?
Yeah, sure. Well, so I think it would be helpful to explain this really. That first time I got involved with it. So, I work with cartoons. As you mentioned, I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists. I haven't always been, but I've been a cartoonist my whole career. And I wanted to mix you can see I didn't just graduate. So when I graduated college, direct marketing was really a big thing, and personalization was becoming a big force. And I thought, well, geez, the other thing that I know about what I'm really passionate about cartooning is that magazines and newspapers have been running editorial readership surveys, forever. And what they were finding was that cartoons are almost always the best read and remembered parts
Interesting.
of magazines and newspapers, which is incredible because everything in those publications, everything's supposed to be memorable and get your attention. Think about all the ads, all of the art and the photography and all of the stuff written by some of the best writers and minds at least in the country. And it's the damn little cartoons that they always steal the show. So that was really, really important because from a marketing standpoint, that means that cartoons, while they may seem silly at first, are really very, very valuable and effective marketing tools. I mean, it says you can get more attention than just about anything you could put in print or on a screen.
Right.
Now, the other thing I knew about cartooning and about humor is that humor is always about truth being revealed in a twist. So think about it. Every time you laughed at something, every time you found something really, really funny, it really got you. Usually you're saying afterward, "Oh my God," but that's so true.
Right.
We always, "Oh my God, it's so true." It is like that. I know someone like that. So there's always that point of truth or agreement in a cartoon. So now think about what that tool is, or that device is. It's a cartoon. People love to read cartoons. They're the best read and remembered parts of magazines and newspapers. So they're going to read it. And if the cartoon is on track, on target, and which is really hard to do, but it means you're going to have to create the humor so that the truth revealed or released, that point of agreement released, is one that you want the recipient to agree with. I mean, that's what you want them to know about what you're reaching out to them for. So when you do that, then the effect is someone gets it, they go, "Ha, that's really cool." And
are you talking about sending cartoons to individual people, or are you saying?
Well, this is just through the mail. So This is huge mailings, like could be millions of recipients. And so you got millions of people opening the mail, pulling this out of the stack of mail because it stands out in the stack of mail. The cartoon does. Just like it does in a magazine. It gets people to pull it out, gets people to stick it on the refrigerator door, all that stuff. So I knew that this was going to, I didn't know all that before, but I knew this was going to be a powerful device. So, and I wanted to create direct marketing or direct mail campaigns for publishers, the magazine publishers. They were the biggest and most sophisticated users of direct marketing at the time. So my first two assignments were for Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit. And what you do is you create the piece that you create is a test campaign, and they test it against their control. In statistics, the control group is the constant, the thing that it's like reality, and you test against reality. In direct marketing, it's the most effective thing they've ever put in the mail. So when you create a campaign and you test against it, if you tie that control, you've just tied the record.
Right.
Pretty big. Well, my first two pieces, the ones for Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit, beat the controls.
That's amazing.
Set new records. It was the first time I've ever created any mailing for any publisher, and those first two pieces set new records. It was like, whoa, that's good. So
that's amazing.
Now I want to spread it to the rest of the publishing industry. And now here's where contact marketing comes in. Because look, the thing is, I knew that to spread it to the rest of the publishing industry, there really weren't a lot of companies we're talking about. They're huge companies, but Time Inc. and Condé Nast and the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Harvard Business Review, and so on. These, particularly the big conglomerates, Hachette, Philippaki, and so on, and Hearst is another one. They're big groupings of magazines. So what it really meant was I needed to reach probably 24 VPs and directors of circulation at these big Manhattan-based publishing companies. And, so just 24 people. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy because, these are elite Manhattan-based media companies. And you're going to reach out to their VPs or directors. They're not going to be easy to reach.
Right.
But I just kind of shrugged and thought, okay, whatever. But what I need to do is come up with a campaign. I didn't know what to call it. So I called this little campaign a contact campaign.
Oh, really? When was this? When was how long ago was this?
Oh, it was a long time ago.
not allowed to say.
My campaign was it was a print, an 8x10, 8x10 print of a cartoon by actually one of mine.
Okay.
And it was about each recipient. And then there was a note that went with it. And I said, well, this is a device I just used to beat the controls for Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit. And I think we should put this to the test for your titles as well. Well, what do you think I got as a response to that? Because I was actually, before you answer, in direct mail, they used to say, if you get a 1% response rate, you're doing really well. Of course, those were the spray and pray days, by the way. But that's what they used to say. A 1% response rate, you're doing great with direct mail. So with that in mind, what do you think I got?
Well, I actually know the answer already, but if I were to guess, I'd probably say, I don't know, 25%. So that out of 24 people, you mailed 24 people?
Yeah.
So that would have been six people.
Like a quarter of the, I was thinking if I got a 1% response rate, that would be a quarter of a person. Really count. If I got a 10% response rate, I think I would have only gotten 2.5 people, almost 2.5 people. That's not cool. I needed to get all of them. And you read the book, so the story that's actually what happened. Not only did I get through to all of them, but all of them became clients. So that's not only a 100% response rate, but 100% conversion.
Wow, that's amazing.
It launched my business, and it was worth millions of dollars to me. And that all came from a campaign that cost me, I went to 24 people, of course, and it cost me $100, something like that.
Wait, so did you draw, you didn't draw the cartoons individually?
Well, no, I drew it first and then I had it printed.
So you said you customized each one for the recipient. What did you customize? It was
laser imaged, so that the caption was laser imaged under the cartoon. And
I see. So it was like the name was customized.
What's that?
Like the name was customized.
Yeah, it's always so in most unless my cartoons are in the journal. I mean, you wouldn't be personalizing there, but
right.
But so unless they're editorial, then all of my cartoons that I use in marketing applications are personalized. So the gag is always written about the recipient.
Okay.
So anyway, that launched my business. It was worth millions of dollars, and it came from a campaign that I spent about $100. And that's the essence of contact marketing. It's reaching out to the few people, the handful of people who can make the biggest difference in your life. And I just happen to be really lucky to know exactly who they were. A lot of times people start out not knowing who they are, who these people are that can change everything about the scale of their career or their business, really of their lives.
Right.
But I knew I was lucky, and I was so lucky because here I am thinking I need to get 100% response rate. Well, you know what? All the experts of all over marketing were saying, 100% response rates are absolutely ridiculously impossible. And if you think you're going to get one, you're an idiot. You know?
Yeah. And like it almost like brings your credibility down if you're like, yeah, I'm going to
exactly. It's like this guy says he's seen the UFOs too. You know, I mean, forget it. So I in all my naivete, I went and I said, you know what, I'm going to have to come up with a campaign to break through to these people. I need to break through to all of them. I need to sell to all of them. I mean, that's my business model so far.
That's a good one.
And I need to sell to these people. I need to pull them in as clients. Mm-hmm. And I can't tolerate less than 100% response rate. And you know, I can't spend more than $100 because that's, you know, that's all I had in my pocket at the time, I guess. I don't know. That was all to spend. But all of that was great. That was just perfect, a perfect setup for what became known to me anyway, and everyone else now through the book as contact marketing. It's just targeting the few who can make the biggest difference. I would say it's, you know, you in direct mail, in direct marketing, when you're going to millions of people, or any form of direct marketing, any form of digital marketing now, you really need to bring the cost down, the cost per impression, cost per thousand, whatever it is, whatever cost you're paying. Mm-hmm. You always need to bring that down to almost nothing. And in contact marketing, you're not doing that. You're saying, you know what I really need to do is be audacious. I need to make the impression that will get me through the door. Not only get me through the door, but have someone say, man, wow, look at look at this thing. I love the way these people think, right? And so if you do that, you might have to spend some money to do it. The record is, well, you know, from the book again, the record that I know of is, well, actually, that's not even the record. I was going to say $10,000 to reach one person.
What would someone spend? Like, what would they spend the $10,000 on?
Well, in this case, it was a fellow, Rick Bennett, who used to own an ad agency in the San Francisco Bay Area. And he had a client, the owner of a tech startup, who approached him one day and said, hey, you know what? I want to present my company to Larry Ellison, you know, the CEO of Oracle, because I think he'll want to buy my company, but I don't know how to get a hold of him. And Rick is a nut. He's a great nut, but he's he's a madman. And he said, you know what? He immediately said, oh, I know how we'll do that. So what they did is they produced a contact letter as a full-page ad, and they ran that full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal. So placing that full-page ad, and here's Rick always gets away with more than he should. He'll know that he'll appreciate it if he sees this, but he always gets away with more. Well, I do too, actually. So, I mean, that's a great thing. I think that's kind of the mark of a contact marketer. And so, you know, he paid $10,000, I should say. His client paid $10,000 to have that ad put in the regional edition of the Wall Street Journal. So, you know, it was hitting Silicon Valley, San Francisco, but sometimes the journal hasn't sold. It just doesn't work out that they only run it in one edition. And sometimes those regional edition ads end up reaching the entire nation. So that's 2.1 million readers.
Wow.
And that's what they got. And so the cool thing though is, you know, you read the book, so you know that they did get through. I mean, I wouldn't be telling the story if of course they did break through. And the thing is, we know that Larry is probably a reader of the Wall Street Journal, but that's not what made this so ingenious. What was is that all of these contacts, all these people who know Larry, all these people who can actually pick up the phone and get through to him, or know his email address and he'll pay attention, those people also saw the ad in the journal. And those were the ones that were calling him and writing him all day long saying, hey, Larry, did you see this thing? Now, you know what's interesting, Nathan, is that they had the meeting. So it took place. And Larry was interested in buying the business. So that business sold for $350 million from that meeting.
Wow.
If you run the numbers, you know, although they spent $10,000 to reach one guy, and of course, Larry's kind of a key guy here, just to reach one guy, the ROI on that campaign ended up being 3.5 million%. Crazy. That's the highest one I've heard so far. That's pretty crazy.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, so what are some more examples of like, I've heard a couple of people mention the sword.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one too. So, well, the thing is, contact marketing isn't just cartoons and it isn't running ads. It's a whole range of things that you can do and that people have been doing to connect with important contacts. And so, Dan Waldschmidt is another guy who's a very interesting guy. He's one of I think he may be the top blogger in sales today.
Okay.
His blog is called Edgy Conversations, and he has a book out by the same name, best-selling book. He's an extreme athlete. This guy runs 100-mile races and he wins these things. Wow. Crazy. I mean, like, I don't know how he does that, but so he's an ultra competitor, and there's that sort of aspect of nice edge to his brand, and so here's the thing though, he doesn't make his money from blogging. Okay. He makes his money as a turnaround specialist. Really kind of an interesting thing. You got to find companies that are in trouble, and I guess when they're in trouble, they probably don't want to talk to people, you know. So he's got an interesting contact problem, but he's got a really great process for breaking through. What he does is he scans the business news every morning, and he's looking for stories of missed earnings estimates. And when he finds one of those, he has this beautiful sword made up. Now, if I'm talking in person, I'm usually a little farther away, and I have this beautiful sword made up. You know, but it's this beautiful thing. You know, it's a real sword. Actually, it's made by the prop maker who made all the swords for Gladiator, the movie a few years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
And I mean, they just look absolutely stunning and realistic and authentic. And on the sword, he has the CEO's name engraved, and then his own little saying, "If you're not all in, you're not in at all." And he puts it in this beautiful wooden box, you know, and it's this beautiful, mahogany box, felt lined. It's just beautiful. He puts that sword in, and then he puts a little handwritten note. And it turns out, oddly enough, Nathan, handwritten notes, right?
Where have I heard about handwritten notes?
There's a secret, right? But handwritten notes turn out to be really powerful, as you know from the business you're in right now. I mean, handwritten notes, who does that anymore, right? So because of that, because it's so far outside of the digital communications that we're seeing all the time, that someone actually sat down and wrote a note is really a pretty astonishing thing, and it has a lot of impact. Mm-hmm. We know that because Nathan works for Letterfriend too, and I know you've seen this happen all the time, right? I mean, it's just, they're very, very effective. Anyway, that shows up a lot in contact marketing campaigns too. So in this case, Dan writes this note, and he's saying, "Hey, business is war, and I noticed you lost a battle recently, and I just wanted to let you know, if you ever need a few extra hands in battle, we've got your back." And he doesn't, there's no branding in there. He just signs it and puts his phone number on there, I guess, or maybe he puts his card in there. I don't know. I don't even think he puts his card in there. Now, isn't that audacious? I mean, he spends $1,000 on the card, on the swords, right?
Yeah.
That to send that to make up the box and all that, the sword and everything, have it engraved, it's $1,000. Maybe plus shipping, I don't know, but $1,000. And then after all that, he doesn't put his logo on it. Think about that for a second. You know, marketers everywhere in the world, their first inclination is, let's get our branding all over this.
Right.
That's how we win. And that's not necessarily how you win. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm saying there's no brand on it because there's no logo on it or anything like that. But you know what? There's branding all over this. His branding, his personal branding is all over it, because really what this is, I mean, in the book, I called it a visual metaphor, but it's more than that, because it's also the action of it is a metaphor.
What do you mean?
Dan takes big actions to make things happen.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
And then visually, here's a sword with this knife's edge, you know, and that's his personal brand from Edgy Conversations and you know, just being an ultra competitor and a turnaround specialist. This guy goes to war for you. He's someone you want at your back when you're in battle. Now, so the thing is, what he sees is about 100% response rate. Well, actually, what he said is a virtually 100% response rate. You know, I don't feel so badly anymore. When I was getting, well, first, you know, I started out with 100% response rate, my first contact campaign. And I knew that if I talked to people about it, it would be like I saw a UFO, like I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And they think, oh, come on.
It's like, oh, there's another guy too. I swear.
He's a cartoonist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Right? It's something like that.
It's like dreaming.
He's not a marketer. He's not a business guy. But so I had to sort of hide that away. But, hearing that Dan has done this and others have done this, others who've read my book now are telling me stories about breaking through at that rate. And this is really, I've got to tell you, the experience of writing that book is just amazing because, I gathered up all this stuff and I thought I knew it was going to be something important because I knew I was breaking through all the time. Mm-hmm. And then the more I listened, the more I was hearing these stories of people breaking through and doing audacious things and getting these really high response rates, really high ROI figures, spending a lot per person or per contact, a lot more than you would spend, let's say, on a direct mail piece individually.
Right.
All those things, I just knew that this was going to be a winning story to tell people. But I'm really seeing amazing response to this because of people like you as well. You and some of the people that we have in our Facebook group, the Contact Marketing Association, sort of the nascent association. I mean, you guys are going out there and you're using contact marketing and you're getting these huge wins. And how do I put this? I don't have to be part of your win. I don't have to be making something from it or be your agency or something or your consultant. Right now, it's like, oh, my babies, they're doing it. Look what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see like everyone in the group has their own approach to trying certain things. Other people are trying totally different things, but that are still having amazing effects.
They are.
It seems like it's almost the attitude behind it more than the specific techniques.
I think the attitude is audacity. If you think about, this story I just told about Dan Waldschmidt and his swords, and he's not putting his logo all over everything.
Right.
That's audacity. Actually, $1,000 just to reach you is audacity.
Right.
But but the thing is, he knows that he can monetize this easily. Every assignment he gets, and so he doesn't. Although he breaks through 100% of the time, he doesn't sell 100% of the time. I don't know what his conversion rate is. But every time he sells, these engagements are $1 million and up. So it pays substantially to use that approach.
All he has to do is have a 0.1% conversion.
He doesn't have that much. That's right. And then he's broken even. But put another way, what are these people worth to you? And if they're worth more than a few cents, then don't just spend a few cents on them.
Right.
Spend something to break through, to actually get noticed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So account-based marketing is becoming a more popular term where salespeople say, I'm going to focus on these 10 accounts and try and break through. Have you seen, how is contact marketing kind of fit in with that? I'm just curious on your view of ABM.
Yeah, well, I love it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, I do think it's sort of it's kind of a new redefinition of what's been happening, I think, for a while. Have people been saying, hey, these are the companies I really want to break through to, and let's go get them? I think that they've been doing that. I don't know if that's all that new of an idea, but yeah, account-based selling or account-based marketing makes a lot of sense. You identify the companies. It's really quite in line with contact marketing. You identify the companies you want to reach now, and then you stratify them. So certainly that top stratum, you should be doing something really audacious to break through to them, because what you really need to do is do something that gets you through, 25% of the time instead of 0, or maybe 50% or 75%, or sometimes 100% of the time. You really want to bang those odds. You want to bring the odds way, way up in your favor, because these accounts, you've already decided that these accounts are critically important to your success and to your planning. So you need to do something to make sure you break through, because obviously, if you never break through, if you never have conversations with them, you never sell to them.
Right.
So I think they're like this. you know?
Makes sense. Huh. So from I guess the intention of this one was about building your personal network or building relationships that matter. So let's say that someone wants to reach, they have a top person list. Like first, how would they go about choosing those contacts? I don't know if that kind of fits into what you do. Like how would they know?
Yeah. I think you're going to have some idea of what you sell. that would be useful, right. And who it can make the biggest difference to.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if the reason you're breaking through is to sell, then there are a lot of different reasons to want to break through to someone.
Right.
But if it's to sell, then you really want to identify, well, who are the people who could really benefit the most, who also have budgets that we would benefit from the most. And I think that's probably the criteria. I had a talk with a client this morning, and they're talking about personas that they use to identify who they want to go after. And now certainly, when I interviewed Anthony Iannarino, Anthony is one of the top sales authors today. And, what he said to me really resonated. What he said is, you don't always need to reach the CEO, but what you want to do is reach the CEO of the problem you need to solve.
Interesting.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of time, and in the book, and when I'm talking, and I talk about reaching CEOs, I'm not always talking about reaching the chief executive officer, but I am talking about reaching the chief, what about it? The center of enterprise opportunity, actually. Bill says but the center of enterprise opportunity, you really want to reach that person who, you connect with them and they see what you've got to offer. They're going, my God, hallelujah, I'm glad you reached out to me. And I've got a few $1 million in my budget left that I got to spend. You want to reach. I think it's actually becomes pretty simple to say, well, this is what I want. This is what I have to offer. This is the profile of the kind of person who would benefit from it most. And these are the companies. You might be selling locally, you might be selling nationally, regionally, whatever it is. These are the companies that fit that criteria. And then you do a little bit of research to find out, well, who are the relevant people? And I would say that that really more and more, because of the way that was my phone making a noise, and I'm going to turn it off so it doesn't do that again. But more and more, decisions are made a little bit differently. They're made more by committee, or at least by consensus. And so it doesn't make sense just to reach out to one person and bank all of your contact investment on that one contact.
Okay.
You might want to be reaching out to people a little bit lower, maybe a couple steps lower, 1 and 2 steps lower.
Okay.
To make sure that whoever it is that really needs to know this information and make a decision, or at least bring it to the decision maker, gets covered. There's a company, I can't mention the name, but it's someone that I want to sell, and they're a big one. And I keep getting contacted by people who are frontline sales reps or next level up, they're sales managers. And we talk about contact marketing, and they say, yeah, your book is spreading around our team anyway. And I'm awesome. Saying, that's fantastic. What I'd really like to do is sell you guys. So, as an agency, so how do I get in? I mean, who do I talk to? And I start getting these referrals up. And it turns out that those referrals from the frontline reps and the sales managers actually carry a lot of weight with the people who serve them. So that's what I'm finding. And I think that you'll find that a lot in how things are brought to light in corporations and how decisions are made. And I think there's a lot of weight now put on, hey, the people that we're supporting are talking about this already. We need to look into this. Mm-hmm. And they bring, and it comes, so you find them that way too. It can be bottom up and top down, or directly in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So are you with the bottom-up approach, are you actually doing contact campaigns to these people, these salespeople?
Well, yeah, this can take a lot of forms, and contact marketing campaigns aren't just sending stuff.
Okay.
Even the ad to reach Larry Ellison, that wasn't sending anything; it was running an ad. But some of what's really effective in contact marketing has to do with information and insight and media exposure and really just asking to interview someone. I realized this is your first show, and I'm really honored to be your first guest. What you're going to find with this is that you'll be making those asks. Hey, I'd like to interview you on my show, on my Vodcast. What's that? A Vodcast? Never heard of that. What is that? Oh, that's cool.
It involves vodka and I don't know, something else. Yeah.
But you broadcast it.
Yeah.
And so, you approach them and say, what I'd like to do is get your perspectives, because what we're doing is we're just expanding on the knowledge base of how to build networks. And I think you'd be a great guest on my show. Well, no, so what happens? What's happening right now? You and I know each other. We've known each other because of the book, and that's how we've connected. But if we hadn't, we're spending an hour doing this interview. We spend a little bit of time prepping for the interview ahead of time. What are we going to do, and what questions might be relevant, and so on. And afterward, we might have a conversation once we stop recording, and that's a bonding experience. And you will find that this is a great contact campaign, right? So, how do you start?
Yeah, I actually think you recommended doing this to me. You're like, hey, I want to intro you to someone, but I have to give them a reason to talk to you besides he's a nice guy,
That's it.
Some cool stuff. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you're already feeling it, that here you are, you got a show going, the show's real now.
Don't freak me out too much. Yeah.
Suddenly the questions will stop coming, right? but look, there's no reason to get nervous. It's nothing. It's just we're having a fun time. It's like we're at a bar except there's no vodka.
I guess we'll have to bring it on next time.
Just hanging out, and if you get to hang out with the people that are really important to your success, that's a good thing, right? You now have a relationship. Nothing is cold about it at all. There's no cold calling element of it. It's really cool. I called on for my book. I'm starting to work on my next book. And so I've got sort of a multi-pronged strategy in terms of who I'm going to interview. One of them is I want to interview some people that the audience or the people picking up the book and looking at the cover or seeing it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, when they look at who I've interviewed, among the people I've interviewed are some people that are there for shock value.
Really?
Because, like one of them is T. Boone Pickens.
Okay.
The famous oil guy. And he was an oil baron, and he was one of the original corporate raiders. And he was on Time Inc. In Time Magazine. And he was on the news all the time. Wow. Because this guy was he's so audacious. He was, going after, trying to take over oil companies that were thousands of times the size of his company. But he was making a serious run at it.
Wow.
So anyway, T. Boone Pickens, great guy to interview for this book. It's a strategy. Actually, it's a strategy book about weeds, because weeds how do weeds inspire us to?
You mean like dandelions or like marijuana? Okay.
Not those, but dandelions, the ones you can't get rid of, the ones you see growing in the crack in the median in the freeway, and you go, how the hell did it do that? Right? The ones that you want to emulate in your business or in your career, you want it to grow like a weed. Right? So anyway, so T. Boone Pickens is one, and General Barry McCaffrey is one that I recently interviewed, broke through to. And I'm using contact marketing. I'm using the cartoons same devices to break through to these people that I do when I'm trying to sell to someone. I shouldn't say trying to sell. When I'm selling to someone.
100%. It's 100%.
It's not often 100%.
You should show everyone one. They're really cool.
Oh, the big board?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't send the big board of this, but I sent a cartoon. Okay. And I got the Barry McCaffrey, a 4-star general. And, I got to tell you, I don't really get all that nervous talking to people, but how do you, I had never met or spoken to a 4-star general before. And I just I don't even know what to call you. I'll call you by your first name because that's going to feel really weird.
Yeah.
Calling you by your first name. That or general, and he said, you can either call me Barry or Your Excellency. So, wow. Of course, I went with Your Excellency.
That's safer.
First name was just too. No, actually, but you know what? That interview turned out to be a blast. What a wonderful guy. I hope to be able to bring him in as a speaker on some of our events that we have coming up on the island here. And the thing is, you just keep breaking through to people who are you just can't believe you're breaking through to them, and they just make a big difference to you. Now, I don't know if I've answered your question. So to deflect, let me show you what a big board looks like.
Oh yeah, let's see it.
So first of all, these things come out in this packaging. It's I think you can see it here. It's this big cardboard thing, and it's got this cartoon art all over it, and you open it up, and the big board's inside.
That's really cool.
And then here's what the big board looks like.
Let's read it.
It's foam core and what's this one?
Okay. Let's study the reports, analyze the trends,
analyze the questions,
and
copy what
Steve Freeman does.
So this obviously was supposed to go to Steve.
And now he knows it's coming. Yeah.
And then on the back, there's all the branding and messaging, and it's telling the recipient why who you are and why you want to meet.
Oh, so you send that without any packaging? It just goes straight.
The packaging I just showed you.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
So what we do is when we're talking to an executive assistant, and they're usually involved if you're trying to break through to someone important. Executive assistants are incredible. They are so cool, and they're so important, so critical to your success if you're going to be dealing with and connecting with important people, because they're present and they're doing their job. Now, most people call them gatekeepers. And partially. It's really only a part of what they do. Maybe it's 50% of what they do with the calls that come in. Because, there are also calls that come in from people that need to reach their executive, and they're supposed to get through. So
Makes
really,
sense.
it's not their job just to turn everyone away. That's not what, I guess, gatekeepers connote that they open the gate and close the gate sometimes. But really, I think that the assumption is they're always closing the gate on you.
Right.
We don't like that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, what they're doing, they're discerning who needs to get through to their executive and who doesn't. But the important part is to focus on is not who doesn't belong with talking with the executives, it's who does. That's the part you need to focus on. And in that role, they're like a talent scout. So they're always looking for interesting things, by the way, that their executive might have missed otherwise. If this call hadn't come through. So they're watching. They don't want to let a great opportunity go through or slip through their fingers either.
Makes sense.
So they're really, really cool people to talk to. A lot of times they're some of the most impressive and capable people in the organizations. They're the ones who actually get things done. And if you tell them that, they'll say, "Oh no, I don't even have any authority." They just don't even realize how important they are, really.
Interesting.
So when we send the big boards out, I usually will say, if it's me, I'm saying, "Hi, I'm one of the Wall Street Journal." For my book, there's also this VIP statement and VIP makeover that you're in one right now. You are now a vodcaster.
Yes.
This one, there it is. You just changed your status a bit, right? Because you now have something to offer someone important, and that is important. It's really valid, and it's you're going to find it very valuable. So there's this VIP statement that I mentioned in my book that in 12 words, let's say, or less, you got to say who you are in a way that they go, "Wow, really? Oh, I need to know more."
Right.
Or how would you do that? Something you want to have some reaction. So in my case, it's, hi, I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists, and I have a print of one of my cartoons, and it's about your boss, and I want to send it to you. I mean, I want to send it. I want it to be a surprise to him, but not to you. Well, I've already gone past my VIP statement that I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists.
You can go on. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still explaining why I'm calling. So I've got a print of a cartoon, one of my cartoons it's about your boss.
Okay.
And I want it to be a surprise to your boss, but not to you. Would you mind if I send you the details, just so you know who I am and why it's coming and so on? Oh my! Usually the reaction is, oh my gosh, of course, yeah, I would love to. Yeah, please send that. So okay, great. Can I get your email address? Great. So you send a quick summary of what it is you're doing, and then, hey, by the way, would you mind if I also let you know and when I have a tracking number for you? Oh gosh, yeah, no, send that along too. And then sometimes we'll also send your trick. Send a card and thank them for their help on the phone.
Right.
And that if you've done all those things by the time the big board shows up. Mm-hmm. Or actually whatever it is you're sending, because this really is applicable to anything that you're actually sending physically. Mm-hmm. You could take this approach. So, by the time that thing is showing up, that assistant is quarterbacking your campaign.
Right. You bring them on your team.
They are part of your success team. That's mm-hmm. right. And you won't believe how helpful they can be if they're convinced that you're of value to them, to their executive, and to their organization. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you, like, when you you say, I want to send this big board, do they know that that's what you're usually selling? Or are they like, oh, like you have to convince them, hey, this is cool, and you still have something of value. You're not just like sending something cool that's going to still waste the executive's time.
Well, yeah, there are a couple of really, really important points there. I'm saying I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists, and I'm sending a cartoon about one of my cartoons, and it's about your boss. Mm-hmm. And I figured he'd want to see it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Now, I'm not telling what's on the backside of it. What's on the backside of it is, it could be anything. I mean, it's whatever the ask is.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Huh. Okay, let's see.
How are we doing for time? Any commercials?
We're actually set for a commercial in about 3 minutes. Yeah, actually, we're getting towards the end. Let's almost. So you kind of answered the question that Larry Lumerman had asked. How do you become one of the people that everyone wants to meet? It's like you have to come up with some sort of VIP statement. And I'd imagine a lot of the salespeople that are listening don't really, they're maybe just starting out in sales or in SDR. Do you have any common recommendations? I mean, should everyone start a Vodcast, or like what's?
Well, I mean, first of all, there's a big push right now for salespeople to be content marketers. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's content marketers. I'm not sure. Anyway, I always thought it was content. But, so they're supposed to be content marketers. They're supposed to be sources of content and insight. I think that's kind of hard to do if you're also told, if one of your KPIs is you're going to have to do 100 calls a day. Yeah. Right? That's kind of hard to do.
Right.
But that's one of the things that they're charged with doing. And they're also charged with being very active on social media and making connections that way. Uh-huh. I think one of the things you can do is just, I see people doing this very effectively with me on LinkedIn. And so I'm saying, okay, but we're all learning. Someone does something cool, something very effective. You say, okay, great. I'm going to pull that into my toolbox. So, they just start out with, so this is not on the phone now, but in social, how can I help you? Is there anything I can do to help you with your mission? Anything at all?
Okay.
And, when they're asking me that, I'm saying, well, yeah, if you have any stories of how you're breaking through to critically important accounts, share it with me. I mean,
that's awesome.
I turn around and I'll invite them onto the show to do an interview, or I might ask them to do an interview for my next book.
So I think you're probably going to get a lot of LinkedIn connections if people watch this. Do people like typically reach out to you, send a LinkedIn message, and then they'll say, "How can I help you?" Is that the basic idea?
I mean, well, the thing is, I'm pretty open about adding connections on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. I'm an author. I'm supposed to do that, and I shouldn't know these people ahead of time necessarily, or I wouldn't. I mean, they might have just read the book. Mm-hmm. So if they've done that, hey, the thing is, the experience of writing a book and getting it published and having it out there, particularly having a book that's making a difference to people, is a mind-blowing experience. It really is. And so I suppose you could argue that you become much more important, and you probably do. Mm-hmm. But here's what it feels like from inside my skin. Okay. Inside my skin, I'm going, that's really cool, man. I took a long time to write this thing. I wrote it a couple of years ago. Uh-huh. And I'm getting this response from people. I'm hearing stories about how it's changing their lives, or even just they bought the book. You bought the book? That's my experience. That's where I am so far. So if someone says, I bought your book and I enjoyed it, or wanted to ask you a question about it, even those you become important to them because of that.
Interesting.
I mean, that could be part of your VIP makeover. But I think in general, anybody who has kind of an interesting thing, an interesting ask that's not a pitch, really dump the pitches. Pitching comes a long time, quite a bit later. Okay. When they're saying, hey, by the way, what do you do? Or I know what you do, but how could you help me? Mm-hmm. That's a great time to pitch. Uh-huh. Connecting on LinkedIn, and then you click yes. I've forgotten what it is, but you click a check mark. That's what it is. And the next thing you get is a pitch. Those people get dumped. I mean, I always dump them.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? But if you have ways to add value, and if you for example, if you're doing a podcast, so that's audio, it's a little easier, mm-hmm. and you're just recording a conversation. And it's like having a conversation over a beer in a restaurant or a bar without all the background noise. It's really pretty easy to do. Right. And you gain new insights every time you do that. Well, those insights become your own content to share. And
you're saying the insights from doing the podcast become content for the podcast?
Become part, for that, but also just reaching out to connect with people.
I see.
I want to share with you the 10 things that people are doing to break through and build their connections or build their network. Mm-hmm. Imagine you having that from your Vodcast.
Love that.
Well, all it's going to take is a couple more interviews. And you can take one device from each, or one piece of advice from each interview, and you already have it. Those kinds of things, I think, raise your profile pretty significantly. I mean, you can also do things like, there are charities out there, and they're begging for help. And so if you become part of a charity, and part of the reason you're reaching out is that you want to interview executives about something that relates to the charity, or I don't know that fundraising calls are going to put you in good stead, but certainly if you're asking them for their opinions or their support in some other way, mm-hmm. I think you get through a lot of the time. I mean, I know that I don't know if I have time for that, but maybe they do. And if it's a way for them to share their knowledge, a lot of times that's what people like to do. And so those things, I think, help raise your profile. Ultimately, you just want to be able to feel like you're on equal business footing. Now, I wasn't on equal business footing with T. Boone Pickens, for example. Uh-huh. I was in awe of meeting him. And I guess it's okay just to be in awe of some of these people. On the other hand, I run a business, and I've run a business for a long time. And so even though our scales are completely different, we can still talk the same language. We still have sort of the same experiences, mm-hmm. in a way. We still have a lot of ways that we can relate to one another. So there's that saying, if you're going to go speak to an audience, just imagine them all sitting on a toilet, on toilets, And you think, okay, I'm fine. I don't know how that actually helps. But, I think rather than imagining these people sitting on toilets, what you could do is just feel confident and comfortable that you're talking to them from equal stature. And it could be just because you're the host of a show and you want to get their opinions and their insights. I mean, I think you will find this in the more you do your show, that the more you just, you've got an outlet for people to share their experiences or to gain exposure, or I'm sure you'll have a way of sharing the video from the Vodcast so that they can put it up on their blogs or something like that. There's a lot of things, a lot of items of value there that will change the way you feel about reaching out to people that you might not have felt very comfortable reaching out to before.
Well, it won't feel like you're taking, like you're trying to share value with the person you're interviewing, with your audience, and it all kind of, I don't know.
You're just trying to get at the truth together,
right?
I mean, that's it. So you're on a mission together.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome note to end on. This has been amazing. Actually, I do have some ending questions, if that's all right.
All right, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on? What's like, if there's anyone listening, what they can help you with, and I don't know, what's going on in your world?
Well, I mean, my most immediate mission is to build my agency. It's a contact marketing agency, and we want to be working with enterprise sales teams to help them break through more often.
Okay.
So if there's someone watching that is saying, "Geez, I love the way this guy's thinking, and I wish we could think that way. I wish we could operate that way." Well, that's what I'm in business to help people do, or help sales teams do. So, I'm not a sales trainer. I'm not those things that you would ordinarily hire someone to boost sales performance. You still need to hire those people.
Right.
But what you're going to do is help your sales team break through a lot more often.
Gotcha.
There was maybe another way to help is just, we've got this, I'm doing a lot with NASP, or the National Association of Sales Professionals. You can find them on NASP.com. And so we've produced a training program. I'd love it if you would go take the training program. I'd love it if you would buy the book. You can hear that, right?
The book is amazing. I can testify to that. So
it's called How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, by the way. And so, but we're doing these free coaching calls twice a month. They're on Fridays. And so I don't know they're either at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Okay.
So you can convert that, but we're jumping around a little bit on the times. But these calls are amazing, because what we're doing is often we're having guests on the call who are sharing their stories of contact marketing. And then we're also having people come on just to say, either here's my story, or you know what, I want to get started. How do I do it? Or I have a campaign, and so far I'm only getting 90% response rate.
Yeah.
That would be a weird call, actually. But I want help. I want to strengthen my campaign. What's your advice? That kind of thing.
Okay.
So those calls are really, really interesting. We just had one this morning, and we had a guest on, Dom Steinman. And Dom has the most amazing story about contact marketing. A year ago, he was a new hire at this startup, and then very quickly they moved him into the role of SDR. So now he's one of the guys in sort of that's probably not nice to say that, what is it, the sweat?
The grunt workers.
So, but he's there grinding out calls. That's their process is, you've got to call 100 people a day. So, the metrics on that are terrible. You make 100 calls, you get through to maybe 10, 5 of them might be interested in what you're saying, and then only one of them ends up being qualified, maybe willing to buy. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of wasted time. And someone recommended my book to him. Mm-hmm. And the light bulb went off. Just said, "Wow, I got to do it this way." And so he said, what I'm going to do is work a lot more strategically. I'm going to start picking out those accounts that we really, really want to land. And then he was doing a lot of, well, what do we call it? Research. I was going to call it snooping, but it was research.
Doesn't sound good, yeah.
His research, is going to these LinkedIn social media accounts and looking at profiles and looking at what people love to do and what's important to them and so on. And he found one guy he just couldn't get through to this guy. The guy would never return a phone call. Well, he went and looked on his profile and found that what was important to him was family, cooking, and tech or technology.
Okay.
So he decided then that he would make up an apron with some sort of technology quote, probably something by Arthur C. Clarke, about magic.
Oh yeah, okay, I think I've heard that.
Something like that. I mean, I'm guessing, but that's what I would have put on it. And so he sent the apron to the guy, and he called right back. Got a multi-million-dollar deal.
Wow.
Now, he's a new hire, and they just moved him into the SDR role, and suddenly lands this big thing with one of these accounts they've been trying to land. So it got their attention.
Right.
And they people, not only did it get management's attention, but it got everybody else, all the other SDRs are saying, "Whoa, what did you just do?" So now they start coming to him and they say, "Well, I read this book, How to Get a Meeting with Anyone, and I'm doing contact marketing." And so another guy says, "Would you help me with an account? I mean, I'm trying to get through and I kept just not getting through." And so they did some research.
Stalking,
it's almost like stalking, But they did some research and they found that this guy was really into falconry. Does that make sense? Falconry.
Yeah, like you get a bird
on the arm, and they got, and so falcons, and then they hunt with falcons. So this guy hunts with a falcon or an owl or something. And it's okay, great. So he's saying, what you need to do is you need to get let's find a store that serves the hobby of falconry. Let's find out what we can buy this guy.
Okay.
And they ended up calling the site owner. I only found one site. So they talked to the site owner, and he said, the coolest thing you could give him is a falconry glove. So, this thing, that goes out here.
Because the birds have vicious
claws. The claws don't go through it. So it's a really thick glove. So they did that. They got a falconry glove. They took a picture of it, put it in an email, and said, "We're sending this to you." And they got a response right back saying, "Oh my God, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen." Now, look, the thing is, I already have your competitor's solution already, in place here. I'm not going to be able to do business with you, but that's really the coolest thing I've ever seen. So, but then the glove arrives. Then he calls him up, and he's just going nuts and going, I love this thing. I can't believe you sent this thing. Look, here's what I'm going to do. We have your competitor's solution installed here. I can't change that. At least I can't change that for now. Okay. But here's what I'll do. I know of 3 CIOs of other big companies who are changing their platforms right now. The timing is perfect right now, and I'm going to make introductions.
Wow.
And that one falconry glove, they got another multi-million-dollar deal.
It's amazing.
So now he's been promoted to sales manager, but he's also the contact marketing guru in-house, and he's supporting all of the reps.
Wow.
And they're all starting to use contact marketing. And this company was just acquired for $3.5 billion.
Wow.
So this is about to grow a lot more. Needless to say, he and I are becoming best friends, and I'm thinking they're going to become an agency client. I hope.
Good.
But because we can do so much more. But he's using sort of that new definition of personalization, which is to say, well, let's see what you and I, we're connected with a lot of the same people on LinkedIn, and so Charlie Lang,
great guy, yeah,
yeah, and he's been doing this really interesting campaign of, he'll do the snooping or whatever it is, research. Sorry, he's doing this research. He sees, you can see the people's profile pictures, and he's having bobblehead dolls made based on those profile pictures. I mean, he shared one of those things. Oh, yeah. That's a pretty cool campaign. Really cool. The problem with that form of personalization, though, is you've got to be able to scale these things. Mm-hmm. If it works really well, then you also need to be able to have some processes and some tools in place that you can put out. I mean, if you have an enterprise sales team, then we're not talking about 24 people anymore that you're reaching out to. It's thousands. Mm-hmm. If it's a big team, I mean, then it's going to be a lot of people. So you can't be, plucking people's profile pictures off of LinkedIn and having individual bobblehead dolls made. It's just, you can't do that at scale. So I think you've got to find ways to use personalization in ways that are scalable. Certainly, I mean, not a plug for big boards, but the cartoons are easily scalable. I mean, this comes from using cartoons in mailings that, we'd send millions of mailings. If we did a campaign for Forbes, which we did, and it was a rollout, millions of pieces of mail went out at a time with that. And that personalization, that form of personalization really had to hang together. And it did. I mean, these people were getting these mailings, and I heard stories for years of people saying, "Oh, are you the guys who did the mailing for Forbes? Because my dad got that, and he clipped the cartoon off the envelope, and it was on his refrigerator forever." Like that just stayed on his refrigerator. Yeah. So they do that. I think that's the kind of personalization that really, really makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, this campaign was personalized. Was it like personalized to their name mainly, or were there other?
Yeah, it's to his name. I mean, the thing that we know about a male recipient, someone we're going to mail to, whether it's female or male, but recipient of mail, mm-hmm. is we know their first name and their last name. We don't know their gender reliably. We know their address. Mm-hmm. We know their city, state, and zip. Mm-hmm. And so, I write cartoons that I and my group of cartoonists, we write cartoons that incorporate those variables into the caption, so they become variable data inserts. Just like I would imagine, just like in what Letterfriend does.
That's one of the things.
There have to be markers, personalization elements that you.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Body of the, yeah. So here it's just it's a cartoon. I mean, I had one of these scientists. They're obviously at SETI, the Search for Intelligent Life Extraterrestrial.
Oh yes, they had that distributed processing program. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one scientist seated at a computer board with all this kind of stuff lit up, and you can see out the window one of those radio telescopes, and one of the other scientists in the lab coat is showing another one around. They're sort of showing him around the facility, and she's saying, so far our search for intelligent life has turned up a couple of false alarms, and someone named Nathan Lippy from New York. I don't know where you're from, actually.
Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, Florida. I was so close. Personally, from Gainesville, Florida. So, the point I'm trying to make is that I worked the city and state into the caption. You could do that kind of
at
stuff.
At scale, pretty.
You could easily do that at scale, yeah. It's
I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Like if I got that in the mail, yeah.
A senator, I shouldn't name the senator, I suppose, but we got a call one day. Scientific American magazine used that cartoon in we used it for them in one of their campaigns. Mm-hmm. And one day we got a call from a senator's office. Again, I shouldn't say the name. And they're saying the senator would like to buy the original art for that cartoon. And I said, well, the original art it's nothing. I mean, it's a drawing on Xerox paper, because that's all I do. I just draw them, and then I scan the drawing, mm-hmm. and I paint it in Photoshop. So the real painting is digital. It's not. It doesn't even exist in tangible form. So I said, well, you do realize that this was personalized, right? I mean, the one that he got was personalized in his name. Uh-huh. And they said, oh, we didn't realize that. Oh. What's that? All 2 million pieces of mail went out with
his name
with these guys saying, so far, our search for intelligent life has turned up Senator
That's flattering.
From Gainesville, Florida. And I mean, a couple of false alarms, and then someone named Senator from not Gainesville, Florida, but you know.
Wherever he's from, yeah.
And so he thought that was the original. And so that's how convincing it was.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's pretty convincing.
It's very exciting. Very exciting.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
All this stuff is really cool stuff. It makes selling and marketing a lot of fun. You start breaking through and you start seeing those results. By the way, the guy that I had on the coaching call that I mentioned earlier, Tom, our guest, he was telling us that his success rate, what he means by that is not his breakthrough rate, not his contact rate, but his meeting rate, so far is 85%.
Very awesome.
Now, if you are running an ABM program, I would guarantee most people are not getting an 85%, success, we'll call it a success rate or meeting rate. Most people are not getting anywhere near there. That's why your question earlier about how does account-based marketing fit together with contact marketing, and I would say about like this, they're necessary.
People that you want to work with and breaking through to them,
Yeah, I mean, might as well put them together because so his success rate is 85%, and he's saying right now company-wide 75%. Wow. So they're a little less effective than he is, but that's an incredible result. That's just an incredible result. So that's the fun of this, is that we're having fun. I mean, it's a blast doing this stuff. We're almost like we're playing pranks on people. Right. If you like doing that, and this is something you need to get into. But you break through and you get these amazing reactions that, I got this and my wife said you better call this guy, or which is what happened with the general, or I got this, I love it, man, I love the way you guys think. Come on in. I don't care what you sell. Come on in. If you want those kinds of reactions.
Of course, yeah. It's like you can't even, if you're getting 100% meeting rate, it also matters like when they meet you. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to see you. It's like, I guess we're gonna meet for 15 minutes. That matters too. With what it conveys about who you are as a person or as a salesperson.
And I just want to say something else that we're talking about 100% response rates pretty casually now. Get really comfortable with it. Because that's not really, don't expect that. Those are extraordinary results, even for contact marketing. All I'm saying is, I don't know of any other form of marketing that's ever produced response rates and ROI figures that this has been producing. But again, just to manage expectations, we're not saying you do this and you get through 100% of the time or 85% of the time. We don't know. And you've got to hone these. That's when your list is right, and when your campaign is right and your message is right. So everything's working, all cylinders are firing. And you may have to do some adjustments, make some adjustments, or you may completely miss and you're going to have to test a lot of things. But don't give up. Certainly don't go in saying, well, Stu and Nathan say it's 100% response rate. And we're only getting 99%. What the hell's wrong?
Yeah. So I like that, the warning. So, well, Stu, it's been amazing. I'm sure people are going to get a ton of value out of this. Everyone, make sure to add Stu on LinkedIn. Ask him how you can help.
Yeah, do that.
And
go buy the book.
Yeah, definitely buy the book. It's really amazing. I refer back to it every couple of weeks for inspiration. It's amazing. So
great.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Stu.
Thanks so much. I'm going to go have a vodka. See ya.
Bye.